terms of public safety. But I'm telling you, having Colonel Reeves and State Police and Chief Browning, you've been here, having wavered, and General Curtis with the National Guard, who is here. As we indicated on yesterday evening, yes, we have moved from rescue to recovery. With that, we have removed debris along Rampart Street, as we indicated that we would do. Vehicles have started to be removed even from the adjacent parking garage, as well as lots in the area. That has been a very controlled environment, and also with the help of our fire department. Gas line, we have a major gas line. The chief will give you more on this, but in our impact area. So we're making sure that we're putting involved protective covering necessary when we move forward with controlled demolition. Also utility lines as well, which powers the entire French Quarter. We're taking every precaution prior to moving forward with our controlled demolition efforts. As you know, the towers remain the top priority, along with the wall that is unhinged. With that, I'm going to have Chief McConnell give you an update on next steps as you will see them happening. Chief?
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And thank you to all the first responders who have been such an integral part of keeping the community safe throughout this event. As you know, we are in the recovery mode of this, and the recovery mode is to obviously get this building down the safest way possible to not impact our community. As the mayor referred to, there is a gas line that feeds a major part of the French Quarter and the CBD that's running right down Rampart Street. It's a 24-inch gas line. There is a main electrical feed that feeds the entire quarter coming down Iberville Street. Obviously, these are things that we need to protect. So the plan we've chosen to take these things down is using what in their business they call energetic material. This is an explosive, small explosives that will damage in a very methodical way, damage the crane in a way to bring it down in an exact location is the goal. Obviously, something like this is not a science. So we're working now, as you see behind us, we have our cranes, we have our experts, the engineers, and the team that's going to take this down. They're working to do that. We did get the material in, and they're working to get that done. It's going to take over 24 hours to get everything set up and in place, and do it once again to make sure we don't lose a life. Although it's important to get them down, it's important that we do it without hurting anyone. And so we're doing that. Our USAR team is here standing by. We're still assisting OSHA to get their investigation done. And I want to be very clear with New Orleans Office of Homeland Security about the increased evacuation zone. Your firefighters and other first responders will be going door to door to everyone, handing them written messages, putting door hangers on to inform them of exactly what precautions need to be taken. The evacuation zone will be sufficient to protect anybody from any possible impact, plus, as we did with this, a cushion on top of that. We will provide further information for people who may need a place to stay for this short window. It'll be a very short window of when the operation is going to take place, and then people will be able to return. We will provide all that information in detail so people have what they need. So pay attention, stay tuned, pay attention to readynola.gov, ready.nola.gov. Thank you very much, and once again, I cannot emphasize enough the thanks I have to all the first responders and to the state for stepping in to help us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and I'm going to call on Director Arnold with the Office of Homeland Security.
Governor, Mayor, thanks. The public needs to pay attention right now, and they have been, and we're appreciative. Ready.nola.gov. Text your zip code to 888777. Follow us on social media at NOLA Ready. We are going to be updating you very soon and very constantly on how this is going to work. The chief explained it. I don't need to go into it further, but this is going to be your conduit for information. We are also going to reach out to the public in the affected area in person. It's very important to pay attention. If you haven't already, follow those social media paths, follow ready.nola.gov. Governor explained what the storm is doing at it. As good as anyone, as good as the National Weather Service. We're going to activate the city's potential tropical weather and making sure that we're doing what we need to do to monitor that. Ready.nola.gov. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Colin. And we have continued to support over 46 families that have been impacted by this incident in terms of housing. We have also a plan for a memorial service that will take place at 9 a.m. in the morning. It is private, but that is going to be the way that we memorialize our people who we've lost in the city of New Orleans. I also want to bring up our health director, Dr. Jennifer Avegno, to give you more details. Dr. Avegno?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mayor. Again, we continue to support those families and individuals who have not been able to return to their homes because of the evacuation zone with their medical, mental health, and social needs. We continue to support the needs of the families of the loved ones who we lost in this tragedy. We again have on-site counselors. We have at the New Orleans Public Library and available 24 hours through both Metropolitan Human Services and Odyssey House, and we will continue to do that for the duration. As Mayor Cantrell said, we are working with the families to provide a service, a memorial service to honor their loved ones. It will be private, as we said, and certainly does not take the place of any arrangements that we may have later on. But we want to communicate how important it is for all of us to be there and stand with them throughout this entire process. And finally, we will be assisting the fire department's call if you or your loved one has a special need that may need assistance during the tropical storm or the other events. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Avegno. We also have our Secretary of Labor, Ava Dejois, who is with us and has activated resources working with the city of New Orleans. And the presence is also at the main library in terms of business services and employees that can no longer report to work at this time. It is worth saying that in addition to the resources that our governor has brought forth here, that also includes the Department of Environmental Quality as it relates to us being prepared for what is to come. We will take questions at this time.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. WWL followed by the Advocate.
For either the mayor or Mayor or either the mayor or Tim, what time is this going to happen tomorrow?
You can give an update on the time.
Yeah, so we're hoping to get it done. The impetus here, and I failed to mention this, the impetus is this weather coming in. As we said, we want to be in control of how this happens. We don't want this to do something and fall on its own that causes damage. What needs to be done, wind, as the wind picks up, being able to put people up into that dangerous atmosphere in a bucket, which needs to be done to install these explosives, is all part of it. We don't really have much cushion in it. And so hopefully it's sometime tomorrow evening is what we're looking to do before dark. I can't emphasize enough the idea of this weather isn't just the wind, which is obviously the wind load's the hardest part on these towers, going to bring them down. But then you have, so parts begin to slide, those slide and impact the tower, the concrete comes down, hits the tower. You've created another possibility for these things to come down uncontrolled.
Chief, I was hoping you could tell us a little bit more about the details, the controlled demolition. How do you make sure those towers go where you want them to go? And how confident are you that they will go where you want them to go?
A very, very high probability that they will come down exactly as these engineers are designing it. I don't want to sit here and pretend that I'm the engineer, but they have sat and shown us and given us how exactly they're going to do it. This is their field of expertise. I've been saying it since day one, and I know I sound like a broken record. I promise you, when people look back at who we brought in and the experience that they have, you will not find somebody else that you say, oh, why didn't you bring in Jones? This guy took down Oklahoma City bombing building, the Murrow building. The other folks took down the buildings around the World Trade Center. There are 3-4 contractors here who are involved in all those projects. All the buildings around the World Trade Center that weren't brought down, these guys are the ones that did that. I truly believe we have the best engineers as consultants, the best contractors, the largest demolition contractor in the country who does this on a regular basis. And this demolition guy, as I said, has been around since the 80s, the Murrow building in Oklahoma City. I truly believe we got the experts. They have convinced. They don't need to convince me. They need to convince all these other engineers that this is the way to do it. We could not find anybody else that was willing to touch these towers with cranes. We've looked at, we've talked about a bunch of different things. Let's get a big crane and put it in. The largest crane company in America is here and wouldn't touch it with their cranes. This is how they
Down or putting on the concrete slabs?
No, they're putting them. This is only the cranes to prevent them from falling outside. They believe they can they're putting explosives on the cranes. They're cutting parts of the cranes, the tower cranes we're talking about. They're cutting some with torches. They're doing all those little things they do to weaken it in the right spots. And they are doing it inside, the deceased people that are inside, to try and allow us the best chance of recovery, and to ensure that it doesn't fall on the gas line or the electric line, which would take out a huge part of infrastructure and businesses and residents in the city. And with that, they're using a little bit of charges in such a way to make sure more of it gets into the building and nothing falls outside of the curb.
And Mayor, you mentioned a wall, a folding wall earlier. Is that?
Yeah, you can see
So
it.
we've said, if you've heard us say several days, our three biggest concerns, we have two towers, and if you look at the front of the building, if you stand on Canal Street, the left side on Rampart, there's a wall that didn't come down. But you can see right behind that, there's nothing. So whereas all the other walls came down, the floors came down, and the wall stayed up.
Is there any? Are y'all doing anything specifically with that? We talked about the cranes.
No.
Okay.
It's once again, the fear would be if you do something to impact that and it falls and hits the crane. So we're leaving that in place. These will certainly all be addressed, as will the entire building once we get the cranes down. The need to move very quickly, I saw a broken record, is to get those cranes down so they don't cause any more impact to the city's infrastructure and the recovery
And
effort.
if I could ask one more question, you've been on this for almost a week now. It's been a long, arduous process. How personally are you feeling coming into tomorrow, knowing that this is kind of it for it?
Well, it's not it. The city's got a lot more recovery to do. I came in for Katrina. I worked 48 days straight. This is an emergency, but we're up for it. You can look at the staff behind me. They've all been here too. I might be the face out here at that time, but
All right, WWNO and then Fox 8.
So I understand. They're going to be in buckets going up, putting explosives in?
yes, ma'am.
And what time does that start?
And I'll walk out of here and go ask them anytime. I mean, they are working, they're assembling these things, putting them together, constructing them, and when they're ready, they're going to go up. They've got the green light to proceed and do what they got to do.
It should take 24 hours.
Yes, that's in ideal conditions.
So they're going to start putting up these explosives today, theoretically, so it'll be ready for tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am.
Time before dark.
Correct.
It's again a lot of factors. Getting the things as they get up there and get to. If you remember, talk about it. Obviously, we'll adjust that plan. But yes, that's the plan.
And can you clarify, just for, I think probably a lot of us are having a hard time conceptualizing this. I mean, is the goal that the whole crane falls on the building, that it falls in the street, that it breaks into
Think of it
small
like it.
pieces?
I would say think of it like it melting.
Yeah.
Like it just comes down right where it is, and just everything stays right there in the building, right at the foot of where it is, actually.
And then we want
Not, and I'm sorry,
No,
and
go ahead.
leaving the majority of the tower there. So that big thick floor we keep talking about, that transfer floor at the 8th floor, everything just coming down right above that, and staying right in that area there.
The idea, we wouldn't see any of those yellow cranes sticking up at all.
You would see the core, you would see the center part, you won't see any of the T's, and the top part of it will all come right down. These things they're not brittle. They're going to kind of fold and come down as a plan.
Hey, Bob, they both go at the same time? Or would it
Yes,
be one then
yes,
the
it'll be
other?
one single. You may hear several little pops, then that's just a timing thing, but all done within a couple of seconds and down very quickly.
So we're expanding the evacuation zone area. Do we know how much that's going to impact businesses, people living nearby?
We will put out all that information very shortly. It will expand from where it is now, probably another 150 or 200 feet, very, very specific published streets, door to door, knocking on doors, door hangers, informing everyone, provide a place for people to go. It'll be a very short window. I don't want to exactly say what it's going to be, but I think we're told, once again, about 3 or 4 hours. It's dynamic, right? Weather and everything, but we believe it'll be no more than 3 or 4 hours that people would have to be out of their homes. The current, we will then shrink back to our current zone if everything goes off to where we are now, and then eventually shrink that even smaller within a very short period of time.
One or two more questions, WWL and then WDSU.
For Dr. Ravegna, actually. You mentioned concerns. You mentioned the other day with air quality. Do you have any other thoughts on that, or what should people be concerned about, if anything?
So right now we have no indication that there's any issues with air quality. Obviously we are taking an abundance of precautions because we know, again, as the chief has said time and time again, this is a fluid situation. If something were to
You've been, diligently here. You're welcome to that. We want to make sure that you are protected as well as you cover this issue.
WDSU.
Was that directed to?
Well, the mayor introduced me to the brother of one of the victims, one of the fatalities, and I was just the nature of this tragedy and tell him how sorry I was that this had happened. And I assured him that a great number of people all around Louisiana and elsewhere had lifted him up in prayer, and that I hoped that he could feel the power of that prayer, giving him some sense of comfort in what is a very, very difficult situation. And it was a very brief conversation, but I was glad the mayor stopped and introduced me to that individual, and he seemed to appreciate the fact that she and I stopped and visited him.
He's feeling confident.
Are you
Being isolated as we speak, the majority of it is off. There will be no gas in that area. However, if the line gets damaged, it's not a quick repair. This is something that would take a tremendous amount of effort. You look at the weights, I've mentioned it before, 145,000 pounds. The goal is it'll be controlled. We have a very, very high confidence that will happen. But if it didn't, we obviously have to be prepared for that.
But you are, in terms of protecting that area.
We are trying to protect it from small debris that may come down in that area, concrete. There is no protecting it from that. There's nothing you can put
And then
on the top of the building and the rest not. You could probably Google these things. They've done them before. These are not new to them.
thank you, Chief.
last question, Box 8?
You mentioned that the gas line, if we didn't shut it off, could potentially be impacted by this implosion. I mean, are there
We do
other-
not think, if everything goes according to plan, we have no anticipation the gas line will be affected in any way.
Is there anything else that could potentially be impacted other than just the melting of the cranes?
Everything will land in that site is the goal. The potential is, if something didn't go right, it could fall anywhere in the collapse zone that we currently have, obviously. We have no anticipation of that happening, but our job is to plan for that. We are emergency managers. We plan for it. We shut off electricity, gas, water, everything we can, so in case something goes wrong. If everything goes right, our goal is then to hook those all back up as quickly as possible.
Well, we have to say, Entergy has just been right, on the spot with us. When we called them out, they were immediately on the ground and are working tirelessly to ensure that gas is off, and steps have already been taken in that regard.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.